Who initiates divorce more?
Certainly it's women.
Women.
Yeah. 70% of divorces, between 70 and 80% of divorces are initiated by women. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Attention is to women what sex is to men. Just like sex is the most reinforcing thing that a woman can give to a man, attention is the most reinforcing thing that a man can give to a woman. When a woman is highly attracted to a man, she finds that kind of objectification complimentary on some level. When women really like a man, they throw a lot of sex at him. Like, don't be fooled. Sometimes when women are like, I really like you and I want to take things slow.
Yo, what up, it's Nick Luis. はい。はい、お願いします。半年前にね、たまたまアメリカのめっちゃ有名な心理学者と、下北沢で会って、俺ずっと彼のチャンネルを見てたんですけど、100万ぐらいのフォロワーがいるんですよ。
だからたまたま会って、
そう。で、
知ってたってこともともと。
ジョーセフが紹介してくれたの。そう。で、本当にもうずっと彼の動画を見てて、で実際にもうめっちゃ緊張してたの。もうずっと見てる人だから。で、彼はね、メンズ専用の心理学者。
メンズ専用の心理学者。
そう、だからメンズの悩みとかを聞いたりして、で、今回はね、本当にめちゃくちゃ深い話ができて、トラウマは何かとか、あと、現代の女性と男性のうまく恋愛がいかないとか、離婚率とかは結構高くなってきてるから、そういう深いトークをしたんで、それを見てその後、俺たちの感想。もちろんこれ英語なんで日本語の字幕があるので、皆さんぜひぜひチェックしてください。Okay, everyone, this is a type of video that I've never done. I'm not sure if you guys have actually heard me even speak English this much, but I have a very special guest from California, Dr. Teravan.
That's me.
Yeah, that's
Please
you.
Call me Orion.
Okay, I'll call you Orion. Yeah. Actually, can you first tell us what you do and stuff like that?
Sure. I am a licensed psychologist in the state of California. I run a small private practice specializing in men's mental health. And a few years ago, I started a YouTube channel that now has close to 1 million subscribers. And I now do consultations with folks all over the world and run my private member community as well. I'm the author of The Value of Others, in which I explore the economic model of relationships. You can get that in all kinds of different formats.
Awesome.
But that's kind of who I am in a nutshell.
So you actually see patients?
I do. I have a small private practice these days. Nowadays, I've expanded it to include consultations. It's a little bit different. I think that therapy is really about healing emotional wounding, whereas consultation is I have a problem and let's create some actionable solutions to solve that problem.
So you're doing consultation?
Nowadays, yes, because there's all kinds of legal and ethical entanglements to do therapy with people in different countries. So I try to just do that with the folks that have pre-existing relationships with.
By the way, just like psychology isn't a big thing in Japan compared to the States. First, like what is the difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist? And then there are different types of psychologists, right?
Yes, it's confusing to most people. These phrases, psychologist, psychiatrist, counselor, psychotherapist, people tend to use them interchangeably, and on the whole, that's fine. But these words have special legal designations in a lot of countries like the United States. The main difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist is a psychologist is a PhD and often does what most people consider therapy, talk therapy. You have an issue, we're going to discuss it. A psychiatrist is a medical doctor, has an MD, and can prescribe psychiatric medications. Psychiatrists can do talk therapy, but they typically don't. They typically just do short sessions and medication management.
Interesting. Are there more psychiatrists or more psychologists?
There's probably more psychologists because medical training is a little bit more rigorous and extensive. But it took me 8 years to become a psychologist.
Wow.
So it does take some time.
That is crazy. I don't think Japan takes as long.
Well, you can also just call yourself a therapist. A therapist is a meaningless term. You could call yourself a therapist as long as you're doing therapy. You know, it's not a legal designation. It doesn't mean that you even have a degree in psychology. It doesn't mean that you're licensed or that you're insured or anything.
Wow.
Like that.
So I see, actually probably in Japan, I see more therapists than psychologists.
Yes, because probably a therapist is not a kind of job that requires a license. It's like a coach. Anybody can call themselves a coach, right?
And of course, you went through the actual rigorous.
Went to grad school, got a master's degree, got a doctorate, did all my internships and passed all the exams and et cetera, et cetera.
Wow. Okay. Well, I want to get into the nitty gritty of like men's health and marriage and what women think about men and what's going on in the world. But before that, I just wanted to ask you, I think Japanese people don't know much about psychology because there's kind of a stigma, which is like, if you go to a psychologist, you're an insane person or you're a crazy person or you have problems. You should talk to your friends. I've been to psychologists before. I don't go to a psychologist now, but do you think there's a problem with too much psychology or too much therapy in the States?
There can be. I think we need to find this proper balance. Like, stigma does have its place. When there's too much stigma around getting help, then a lot of people suffer unnecessarily. And that impacts their livelihoods, their families, their friends. It's a serious problem. But when there's no stigma whatsoever, and not only is there no stigma, but there might be benefits to assuming a hurt or patient role, we call that secondary gain, then we're going to see more and more people spend more and more time in the process of healing. The way I think about therapy is almost analogous to like a physical problem. Let's say you broke a leg. Now, pretending you didn't break a leg would probably create even more problems in your life, right?
Yes, yeah, you're masking it or something like that.
Yeah, and it would hurt a lot longer. It probably wouldn't heal properly. And most people don't know how to set a bone themselves, so they go to a medical doctor. And for a while, they might have to change their lifestyle. They might have to accommodate the injury and do things to strengthen the muscles around it. But eventually, the cast comes off and they learn to walk and they don't go to the doctor anymore. That's different with emotional problems. We can see with an x-ray that the bone is broken or that it's mended, right? The idea with therapy is you come in when you have a specific problem, you get about the business of healing it, and then you leave. You move on with your life. I think that if a person has been in therapy for many years working on the same problem, there's something very wrong about that situation.
And that's quite common.
It can be. It can be.
I mean, I have friends who've been going for like years, and sometimes I'm wondering like,
well, maybe it's not always the same problem. Like maybe the original problem that they came to therapy has been solved and new ones have come up. Or that person takes on more of like a conciliary role in that person's life. Like I have that with some of my patients where we see each other fairly infrequently, maybe once a month.
I see.
And they just give me updates and I give them my objective advice or opinion or counsel. And that's kind of how it morphs.
Interesting.
But certainly one of the dangers of over therapy is that everything now has become a trauma.
Yes.
And that's problematic because when we overextend the application of that word, then people who have truly been traumatized often go unrecognized. And trauma is a real thing.
Yes.
But a lot of what folks today call trauma, I don't think technically is, but they still expect the kind of consideration and exemption that we often give to people who are seriously hurt.
Yes.
Right? So that's the secondary gain, is that if you tell me that you're traumatized, then on some level you feel entitled to a certain kind of consideration. Maybe I'll go easy on you. Maybe I'll change and accommodate to your feelings. Just like if you had a broken leg, I wouldn't ask you to go upstairs.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
A lot of things people just, in my opinion, should use as an opportunity to build emotional resilience and to move forward with their lives.
I'm pretty sure Joseph, who you guys know, he's been on the podcast before, he showed me a study of how men and women deal differently with trauma. Like, I don't know if you've seen it, but like some men can benefit from, like, I don't know if it was benefit from trauma, but like work towards something from the trauma, where like females can like be crushed by it more often or something like that.
I mean, men can certainly be crushed by life and circumstances.
Yeah.
So I haven't read that particular study, but what I will talk about is we generally think about trauma incorrectly when we say that this was a traumatic experience. This happened to me. This thing was traumatic. That's incorrect. Trauma is not an objective feature of reality. It doesn't exist outside of the person suffering it. And we know this because, unfortunately, people go through all kinds of terrible and horrendous things on this planet. And some people become traumatized and some people don't. If the experience itself is traumatic, then everyone who passed through it would be traumatized. And we know that that's not the case. So we know that certain experiences are certainly going to be harder for more people to navigate than others, but clearly there's some sort of interaction between the personality and the resilience of the individual and what they've passed through. So that's one. So one more thing. The trauma doesn't live out there, it lives in here. And a person becomes traumatized when a part of them freezes and stops moving, stops growing, stops changing. It's like something happened to them and they're stuck. Time has moved forward. Maybe they've even chronologically aged, but they're still emotionally preoccupied with that moment. That freeze, that stuckness is the trauma. Okay. And if we can unstick that, then we've healed the trauma.
So are you saying not everyone in the world has trauma?
No, of course not.
Okay. I mean, because I think it's a good thing. Yeah, but I mean, it's like, you know, people often say like everybody has some type of trauma, or you've been traumatized at some point in your life, or...
That's the overgeneralization of that word, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So we can say everyone certainly has their struggles or their challenges or their hardships, but a trauma, again, in my definition, means that you're stuck and you can't move on. Whereas if we approach the same experience as an opportunity for growth, like we would say a challenge, we can rise to the challenge and we can overcome that challenge and learn from it. We're not stuck. And then once that has been overcome, we move on with our lives.
Interesting. Okay, all right. I'm going to kind of change subjects once. I have done videos on this before, and they got a little bit spicy. Some people got angry. Some people really agreed with it. But basically, the situation between men and women in the world right now, I think it's the same actually in Japan as it is in the United States.
Do you think so?
Yes.
Really?
Totally think so. Yeah, I mean, marriage is going down, divorce is going up.
It's still about a half of what it is in America. I looked this up the other day.
Is it? Okay.
I think the divorce rate in Japan is between 25 and 30%, which is still fairly high.
Yeah.
But it's between 50 and 60% in America.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably more exacerbated or worse in the United States, but I think Japan is heading in the same direction.
Okay.
And I think it's probably because of the exact same issues. I mean, there could be cultural differences or social differences or something like that. But why would you say that divorce is rising and that men and women aren't having the type of deep relationships that they were having before, or a lot of men aren't having sex or things like that?
I hear that's a serious problem in Japan.
Well, that is a serious problem.
I saw a documentary once where there was a government agency that was giving classes to 40-year-old virginal men, Japanese men, to kind of like the way that zookeepers try to get animals interested in the opposite sex in order to get them to reproduce. It's like, this is a woman. Doesn't she look good? Doesn't she smell good?
Yeah.
Just sort of like to inflame some sort of sexual desire in these men. So that's an interesting problem. I don't think we have it that bad.
You don't think you have it in the States?
Well, what we do know is that according to recent data, 1 in 3 men under the age of 30 have not had sex in the previous year.
Yes.
So about 1/3 of men are invisible in the sexual marketplace. And that's usually not because they choose to be celibate in the sense that they're living some sort of monastic life. It's that they can't get a date, or they can't find a woman to be in a relationship with them. And that's a serious problem. 1 in 3.
That's a lot.
Now, I think the corresponding number for women under 30 is 10%. So there's still some women who are in the same boat, but there are 3 times as many men. And that also starts to impact the men who are still in consideration. What that means is that more and more women are focusing on fewer and fewer men as potential sexual partners. And so one thing that we're seeing is that women are actually making society more polygamous in the sense that they are only considering fewer and fewer men as possible sexual partners. And so more and more of the women in the relationships get concentrated into fewer and fewer subsets of men. And what that does is make it less likely that those men will commit to any one woman.
Because they can just get what they want.
Yeah, I mean, we'd like to think that men should do this and that or the other, but let's be honest, the temptation of optionality is very difficult. And men can and do commit to a single woman, but generally when that woman is better than all of his other available options. And most women are not going to be better than their intrasexual competition either. So what happens is, as fewer men are being considered by women, the men that are being considered are less likely to commit to those women.
Yes.
Because the whole reason why so many of them made the effort to become attractive, to become rich, to take care of their fitness, to have status or fame, was to give them optionality in the sexual marketplace.
Yes.
Whether they're conscious of that or not.
Yes.
That's why powerful men become powerful.
Yes.
From an evolutionary perspective, right? And so their reward for going through years of hard work shouldn't be the foregoance of the benefit that they hoped to achieve this entire time. And so, again, greater concentration of all female sexual interest into fewer men, but because of that, fewer of those men are actually going to commit to any of those women.
Yes.
So the total number of relationships being transacted is decreasing every single year. And I don't just mean marriage. Also, there are fewer sexual relations, like casual sexual relationships are on the decline.
I saw a news show the other day, and I actually did a video on it because it was personally kind of annoying to me. It was called Oyaji Attack, and that means like middle-aged man attack. And what they were saying was basically if a middle-aged man approaches a girl, say 5 years younger, 10 years younger, it's an attack. And it was basically about what women feel about this, and then how guys are becoming afraid to even talk to women, which I think brings back to that zoo analogy. I think the guys probably want to have sexual relationships, but they're so scared because being creepy, from my perspective, is like one of the worst things that can...
I hear this a lot, and I don't know if an equivalent movement has happened in Japan. In America, we had something called Me Too that happened about 8 or 10 years ago, where a lot of women came forward and said, I was the victim of sexual assault or unwanted sexual attention. And it led to the end of several powerful men's careers, and a lot of attention was being paid on this. And the risks associated with this are very high. Now, obviously, I'm not condoning inappropriate sexual behavior. Clearly anything criminal, men should be held accountable for.
Of course.
100%. But creepiness is tricky because, again, just like trauma, there are few behaviors that, if any, that are objectively creepy.
Exactly. It depends on the person, right?
It depends on the person and how that woman is perceiving that person.
Exactly.
Because the same person can be perceived as attractive and unattractive by two different women, or by the same woman at two different times. So creepiness is a unavoidable risk when it comes to approaching women. Now, I have approached hundreds and hundreds of women in real life, and I've never been slapped. I've never had a drink thrown in my face. I've never been yelled at. I think that I can leave a woman better than I found her, even if she's not interested in talking to me or pursuing any kind of relationship. And I think that there are things that guys can do to increase the likelihood that that will occur and to decrease their risk of being perceived as creepy. But again, it's in the eye of the beholder, so it's not something that men can control. But I think that you can control what you can and mitigate that risk so that it still makes sense to approach women, because how else are you going to transact a relationship? You're not supposed to do it at work. Even communities are falling apart.
Even like the gym now is like, don't talk to girls in the gym type of thing,
Yeah, but what's interesting is that those types of critiques, like men will hear them. Oh, it's creepy to approach women in a gym. It's rude or an assault to approach them on the street. The men who are going to be dissuaded from doing that are not the bad men. They're the kind of good, nice guys who are like, oh, that's wrong? Okay, then I won't do that anymore. And they self-select out. The men who don't care will continue to approach women. Some of those men will be confident, which is a positive trait for most women. And some of those men will be arrogant or narcissistic, because there's a fine line between these two things. Both, on some level, require not really caring what you think about me. That's an attractive trait in a man. It can be infuriating an infuriating trait in a man to some women, but women I think would prefer to be infuriated by a man than to feel nothing for him.
I think just to even bring the level up of difficulty for men in Japan, Japan is a country where you care about what people think about you a lot more than the United States.
That's true, yes.
Just in general, it's a shame culture is Ruth Benedict, which is like it's an outdated theory, I guess. But I do think Japanese people care more about what people think about them.
That seems to be the case, yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, like, I know a lot of high profile women, I've worked with them, they've been on my channel, and, I'll see stories or something like that. And it's almost like, just like disgust in men. Like, I can't believe this guy even thought he could talk to me or something like that. Or I actually know a girl, really nice girl too. She's like, I want men to think I'm sexy, but I don't want to be looked at as a sexual object.
Yeah, that's tricky because women actually do enjoy being objectified sexually by the men they want to be objectified by. And that's a big asterisk that you need to put there. But when a woman is highly attracted to a man, she finds that kind of objectification complimentary on some level. And it certainly feeds the sexual passion and intensity of that relationship, which can be one of the foundations of a more fulfilling long-term relationship. Like, sex does glue people together. It's one of the fastest, strongest ways to bind men and women together. And the more sex you have, the more that bonding occurs, which is also why sex tends to decrease as relationships move forward in time, because they've already been bound together. In the beginning, it's often hot and heavy because you don't, on some level, know if you're going to see the other person again. But if you can increase some sort of emotional attachment or bond with the other person, they're more likely to come back. So when women really like a man, they throw a lot of sex at him. Like, don't be fooled. Sometimes when women are like, I really like you and I want to take things slow, they didn't take things slow with other men in the past that they were more attracted to.
Exactly,
I think women often do that for men they're not as attracted to, but see as long-term options for provision.
Can you explain that? Because, I mean, I think some Japanese people might know about this, but like, you've heard about like the dual mating strategy. Yeah, that one's a controversial theory. There's some evidence to suggest that it's true, some to suggest that it's not. But it's basically that we can agree that we can't get everything we want from any one person. Like, no person is perfect and can satisfy us completely and indefinitely. This is true for men and women. And what the dual mating strategy suggests is that women sometimes secure good genes from really attractive men, but those men often have a high deal of optionality, like we were discussing, and they often don't make very caring long-term partners. But they could be very attractive, they could be very healthy, they could be very exciting, they could be kind of dangerous. They can offer women a lot of emotional experiences, but they might not stick around. They might not want to get married or have kids. Often, the offering of commitment or marriage or provision is actually a way for less attractive men to compete against more attractive men. I have this theory that all men pay, but the more she likes you, the greater the discount. Interesting.
When a woman is very, very attracted to a man, then just being in his presence is rewarding enough. They just want to spend time together. They just want to be with each other. When a woman is less attracted, then she has to be compensated for her lowered attraction with other provision, whether it's you take her out to dinner, or you have to show signs of affection, or you have to go on vacation, or be exclusive, or get married, etc., etc. All of those are things that women tend to want, but no one pays more than they need to. Men and women. No one pays more than they need to for the same good. So a lot of sexual relationships are really this unconscious and covert negotiation process where both the man and the woman are trying to figure out how much they have to give and how little they're willing to accept in order for the relationship to persist or move forward. And again, if you are less attractive as a man, you might be able to compensate that by giving a woman things that she wants that more attractive men wouldn't be interested in doing, like marriage.
Interesting.
So this is a way for less attractive men to compete. And on the whole, a woman might think, yes, there are more attractive men out there physically. They are more exciting. They're more successful. But I'm getting older. Maybe it's going to be harder for me to secure those types of relationships in the future. And this is a good guy. He's devoted to me. He wants to have kids. Maybe I can be compensated for the things I'm giving up for the things I hope to receive in this new relationship.
But won't they be thinking about still the guy that was super attractive?
Well, they often do. And what happens when men are in this situation and they marry women who aren't that attracted to them because they're giving them the ring, because they're giving them the children? Well, what happens once they have the kids? And what happens when the kids are grown up? You know, when a man marries a woman who's not very attracted to him, many times he's just securing a divorce 15 years from now.
Yeah.
Why? Because at that point, there's nothing more that less attractive man could give that woman. He's already given her the ring. He's already given her the children.
Yeah.
And especially in America, she can choose to leave with cash and prizes as well. So it becomes harder and harder for a woman in that situation to choose that relationship.
Who initiates divorce more?
Certainly it's women.
Women.
Yeah. 70% of divorces, between 70 and 80% of divorces are initiated by women.
Wow.
And why wouldn't they?
Yeah. Especially if it's in California where you can get, say 50% or whatever of...
Yeah, well, it's that, but also the man has to pay the legal fees usually.
Yes.
A lot of people don't know this, but if the woman earns significantly less than the man, then the man is forced by the court to pay all of her legal fees. And she might even have initiated the divorce. And there's certainly no incentive for the opposing counsel to make this snappy. So often, not only is the man cut in half, but he's further reduced because a divorce can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Especially in the States. I think in Japan it's much, much cheaper. Yeah. Just one other question. With social media and, things like Tinder or Bumble or all that stuff, you see men are a lot more likely to swipe right or, and women are a lot more picky, right?
Sure.
But even... from, I guess, objective standards, like an average girl can still sometimes get the attention of a very attractive guy for a short amount of time.
Sure.
Does that mess up their standards for...
It can, because women can get sexual access to men that they will never get commitment from. And this, I think, is a failure of what we call intersexual understanding. Oftentimes men think women think like men, and oftentimes women think men think like women. Now, in the vast majority of cases, most likely when a woman sleeps with a man, it's because she also is considering him as a potential long-term partner. Because the risks associated with sex, namely pregnancy, are generally greater for women.
Yes.
And so women can and do have very casual sexual relationships, but on the whole, even the men that they choose to have casual sexual relationships with, they would generally feel comfortable having kids or introducing them to their friends, etc. Men have a much wider gap between what they are willing to pass for an evening and what they're willing to commit to long term. And so because women typically don't have that, they think, because he's slept with me, he must also, as I do, believe that I am a good potential long-term partner. And so that's the failure of intersexual understanding there.
Interesting. And social media must exacerbate this, right?
Well, certainly. I don't think that you have to be an inordinate beauty to get a great deal of attention and validation on social media. Especially if you can just do a little dance and sexualize yourself just a tad. You don't even have to do all that much. And you might have hundreds of thousands of men subscribing, liking, following you. And that is tricky because on the whole, women don't date their fans.
Yes.
They get all this attention, but they don't cull partners from their fan group, which is really interesting. Men might.
Yes.
But it typically doesn't work the other way around.
Interesting.
And those women, even if they're getting attention and validation from vast swaths of men, are generally still interested in securing the attention of other men who aren't fawning on them.
Yes.
And sometimes they can think, well, you should treat me the way that all of my fans treat me. But if he did, she wouldn't like him.
Yeah.
Because women don't date their fans. And so sometimes this puts men in a double bind. If they actually give a woman what she says that she wants, then he can be complicit in undermining her attraction for him.
Man, it's complicated.
It's super complicated.
So what about, like, I know girls who are like, models a lot, sometimes more sexual than others, but it seems that a lot of them are just satisfied with the attention. Is that an actual thing?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Not all models are super sexual. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I do think that it's a little tongue-in-cheek, but attention is to women what sex is to men. Just like sex is the most reinforcing thing that a woman can give to a man, attention is the most reinforcing thing that a man can give to a woman. So we, men and women, we do want different things from each other. We're not the same. And that's been a belief that we are, I think, collectively disabusing ourselves of in the present day, but it still has a lot of ground to cover. This would be completely obvious. It'd be saying the sky is blue and grass is green 3 generations ago. But today, for a psychologist to say men and women are not the same, like that exposes me to all kinds of criticisms because it's against the dominant ideology, not necessarily because it's factually inaccurate.
Just like, what about, like, men and women are more equal now. We're getting more equal pay. There are women making a lot more money. I think I saw this on a news channel recently, but a lot of Japanese women are making a certain amount of money to where they can't even, like, consider men that would be under what they make. I'm sure that's the same in the States, right?
Well, there's a number of things about this. It's like we have to understand that people go to relationships because they need and want things. If you don't need or want anything from anyone, you don't spend time with them. You don't enter into a relationship. Relationships are designed to help each other, ideally, get these needs discharged. Okay? Now, historically, in most parts of the world, the only way for a long time for women to get money and security and provision was through a relationship with a man. That is no longer the case. Women still want money and security, but they now have other ways of going about securing those things as opposed to just getting into a marriage with a man, per se. They can get those things for themselves increasingly. And again, if I don't need anything from you, I'm unlikely to enter into a relationship with you and to stay in one if I've already entered into one. Now, that said, there's always a bigger fish, right? So some women are doing very well for themselves, but they probably wouldn't be opposed to entering into a relationship that would significantly improve their quality of life, that enters them into a lifestyle that is beyond their current means of securing for themselves. But that means that there are fewer and fewer men who are able to provide that as women become more and more successful.
Yes.
Which again contributes to the concentration of relationships and sexuality in just the most successful men. Yeah.
As I said, I brought videos like this up before with people who are a little less, a little bit harsher in the way they say things. I think they have a little bit, I mean, they're not psychologists, so, they might have more,
It doesn't mean that it's not true, but sometimes people mistake the tone or the messenger for the message. Yeah,
well, I got a lot of misogyny comments on that channel. I got a lot of good comments, a lot of misogyny comments, but obviously, I have a wife and a daughter, and I don't wake up in the morning, I'm like, what are these women doing?
Well, we also have to we have to kind of collectively make up our minds.
Yeah.
So are women strong and independent and resilient and powerful? Or are they so fragile that they need to be protected from even reasonable criticism?
But we're told on both, right? I mean, if you look at like movies or like Marvel or something, they're the, powerful. And then at the same time, I mean, I see memes from like, friends of mine who are girls that are like, morning, men and women are equal on the train. Why don't these men stand up for me? Type of,
sure,
you know what I mean? Yeah.
A lot of double standards that we're trying to negotiate. It's like selective feminism on some level.
Yeah. And they know that too, which is, because they're laughing about it. The woman posted it herself.
Maybe that's a little self-aware from this woman, but I know a lot of women who believe that these double standards are totally reasonable and reconcilable and justified. And I don't share that opinion.
Yeah.
I do think, though, that we have to accept that inequality in relationships is the rule, not the exception. Most relationships are unequal. One person is always going to be more attracted than the other. One person is always going to be more emotionally invested than the other. One person is going to have more options or more money, etc., etc. Employing so much time and effort and energy to make everyone the same and equal is a fool's errand. And the closer we get, the more effort will be required to make smaller and smaller gains in the direction of equality anyway. So there's a huge diminishing return on that deployment of resources.
Yeah.
And just because things are unequal doesn't mean that they're unfair. Sometimes equal is unfair, and sometimes unfairness is equal. So I think we have to understand that, first of all, men and women generally want different things, but also that any two individuals in question are going to have different strengths and weaknesses, are going to come to the relationship for different reasons, to have different power differentials, and that's okay.
Yep.
It's all right.
Just before we end, this will be the last thing. It's easy, even for me, because a lot of the time I'll be like to my, it's almost all male subscribers that I have. I'm like, why would you even get married now? Or it's easy to get pessimistic or nihilistic. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm personally not a big proponent of marriage. I don't think I will get legally married for a number of reasons. I think, though, that it's something that is still very important to a lot of people, even men. I do think that the best reason to get married, if one wants to get married, is to have a family. And I do think that that is traditionally what marriage has always been, to be a safe, protected environment in which to raise children. All the other things that we're prone to putting on top of marriage are kind of recent inventions. The stuff that you kind of hear at modern weddings. You're my best friend. You're my confidant. You're the love of my life, my soulmate, my sexy little playmate. Too.
Yeah.
Like, that's unrealistic, in the sense that that's making one person 9 different roles. The likelihood that person is going to be exceptional indefinitely at discharging those roles is very, very low. So I think that the fewer things that we actually want and need from each other, one, the more likely we're going to get what we want. And two, we're going to set our partner up for success. Because if there's just a couple of things that I need from you and I know I can get them, then you're going to feel good when you discharge your duty, as it were. If I want 10 things, you could do 9 of them, and I might still be disappointed. And then you're going to feel, no matter what I do, it's never enough. That's setting your partner up for failure. So I do believe that marriage should be entered into very cautiously, especially in America. If you want to get married, you absolutely have to get a prenup.
Yeah. Everyone
has a prenup. That's one way to approach this idea. It's just the prenup agreement that the state provides for you. It's like the default marriage contract. And how many people have even read that contract? How many people know what they're signing? Like, it's actually a legal contract. And you should read that very carefully and get a consultation from a lawyer before you make you would do that if you had an important business decision to make.
Yes.
But a lot of people just sign the paper without even thinking about it because they're in love.
I mean, they don't even look at the paper. They don't even sign. There isn't even a paper. You know what I mean?
And to me, the paper is not important. For me, it's only risk without any reward.
Yes.
Like, there's nothing I get in a legal marriage that I don't already get just in a committed long-term relationship. And if I understand that some women might not enjoy that perspective because, for whatever reason, being married in that way is very important to them, that's their right, that's fine. We're probably not going to be able to make it long term. But I think that if you don't want to have kids, especially, you can just be 2 adults who enjoy spending time with each other.
Yep.
There's no need to get
some
law
label
involved.
Yeah.
Well, you can label, but you don't have to get the government involved in your relationship and expose yourself to unnecessary risk.
Yeah. I mean, I know somebody who's had an adult. He's been married before, but he's had a girlfriend for 8 years. And I remember I asked, like, why aren't you going to get married? He's like, because why would I want to make myself unhappy? We're so happy with what we have right now. What would be?
Well, one thing that's kind of wise, because a lot of times guys get married because they really like their girlfriend. They love their girlfriend, and they think by marrying my girlfriend, I'm going to keep her forever. The issue is that as soon as you marry her, you lose your girlfriend.
Yes.
And you get a wife.
Yes.
And a wife is not a girlfriend, and a girlfriend is not a wife. And you can't expect your wife to continue to act like your girlfriend and vice versa. It's like if you actually promoted an employee from a middle management to an executive role, they have to start acting differently. Otherwise, it would be inappropriate to keep them in that role. So unfortunately, men often lose what they want by attempting to secure it permanently.
Yes.
So if you like your girlfriend, you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
You're good to go.
Yeah.
Don't rock the boat, you know?
Promise is the last question. What do you think is the best way for men and women not to resent each other in the current situation?
Just have a sense of humor about things. Like, life is hard.
Yeah.
And to not really take this stuff too seriously. I think those who succeed in pretty much every endeavor of life almost approach it with a playfulness as if it's a game. Like, people who are too serious about making money or getting fit, they often get injured. They often get burnt out. It's like, have fun in the process.
Yes.
Don't take things too seriously. And don't just read the statistics. That's another thing. Like, statistics are population level descriptors. And what is true for the individual almost always deviates, often in very significant ways, from population level statistics. So have a sense of humor and have fun with it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the channel. This is the most serious video I've ever done.
It was good for me, Nick.
It was very easy for me because you had so much wisdom. So if you guys want to check out Orion's channel, I'll put it in the description.
Yeah, it's called Psyhacks. It's on YouTube, and the book is The Value of Others. If you like what I have to say, I go into much greater detail in the book.
Yeah, we'll post all the links in the description. So.
Right on.
All right, thanks, man.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys. さあ、どうだったんですか？
いやー、面白いですね。
めちゃくちゃ面白い。トラウマの説明が、結構トラウマ軽く使う人が多くて、でトラウマはまあ彼が言ったように、何かのやばいイベントがあって、その時から自分が動かないとか成長しない。
止まる、スタックするって言ってたけど。
みんな、俺、このトラウマがあるとか言うんだけど、あんなに軽いことじゃないよっていう。
多分だけど、これでも認識違うんじゃない？なんか日本人ってトラウマって言葉はもっと軽いもん。
でもアメリカもそう。そう。結構軽い。アメリカも。
俺トラウマがあってさって、そんな深刻なこととして聞かない。これの動画で言うトラウマってマジ PTSD 行くぐらいってこと？
でも本当に PTSD に近いと思う。あと、日本人はね、結構報酬派が何について話してもあんま炎上しないけど、男女関係になると炎上すんの。結構。する。彼はスムーズに人が傷つけないように説明するじゃん。他の人が彼が言ってることを言うと、
それ当たり前だろ。だってこの人は何年もやって、それを勉強して、しっかりやって、今それを仕事にしてますよっていう人の発言と、そんなことを別に何も知らないやつの発言が同じなわけないじゃん。
違う。
お前の言葉だとしたらあれは炎上するかもしれないけど、あの人は、なるほどね、こういう風にちゃんと科学的にやったっていうソースがあっての発言でしょ？
そう。でも、他の有名な人が言っても炎上すると思う。結構いる。やっぱアメリカでは。なかなか伝えられないことをちゃんと伝えてて、めっちゃ勉強になったね。でも、結婚はそこまでいらないっていう。
言ってました。
すごい面白かったと思ったね。またいつか彼と別の話をしたいね。もっとトラウマとか、その恋愛じゃない感じで。あと、俺が思ったのは、日本にもそうだけど、セラピストとかカウンセラーっていう人がいるじゃん。あれは本当に免許なしで名乗ることはできるから、ちょっと気をつけなきゃいけないなと思って。
俺なんか俺がそういうあれだからあれなんだけど、占い師っぽいわ。
そう。
やっぱし。
いやでも彼は全然占い師っぽいことは言ってないよ。
なんつうの、相談相手でしょ、だから。
まあ相談相手。まあ俺はめちゃくちゃ
いやすごいもちろん素晴らしいですよ、そんな。
俺いつか彼の本は日本で出してほしい。
そう。日本語訳して。
めちゃくちゃ人気なんですよ、彼の本は。The Value of Others っていう本やってるんで、皆さんもしよかったらぜひ彼のチャンネルをチェックしてください。特に男性には多分役に立つと思うから。
もう終わりですか？じゃあ一個だけ言って
いいですよ。
この動画40分ぐらいあるじゃん。この動画の ね、インタビューの27分ぐらいの、お前のインタレスティングの言い方めっちゃ腹立ったわ。
なんで？
この確認し、今もう一回流してほしい。
これは勝手に日本人の上から目線みたいな気にすることがあるんだけど、全然俺はずっと下だよ、俺は。
めちゃくちゃ、違う、その偉そうとかじゃなくて、インタレスティングの言い方がめっちゃなんかちょっと腹立ったから、
そうです。
ニック、そこだけ見てよ、もう。今、そのリアクション取って。
Because he's slept with me, he must also, as I do, believe that I am a good...
違う、ちょっと喘ぎ声っぽいよね。なんであれで可愛いじゃん。だからでも彼と一緒にやったのはやっぱ喋り方はプロだなと。
なんかあと思ったのはすげえ聞きやすい英語。
そうそう、聞きやすいし、
頭いい人の喋り方だし、
言語の使い方がめっちゃ上手だ。
例えば足の骨を折ったとしましょうみたいな、ああいう例え話とかも、はいはいはいっていう風になるしね。
そう、俺は本当に英語下手だなって思った。これで全然違いますね、これはね。いや、まあさっき言ったように皆さん、彼は自分のチャンネルやってるんで、もちろん概要欄にリンク貼るので、まあ英語の勉強にもなるし、心理学的な勉強にもなると思うんで、もしよかったらぜひチェックしてください。じゃあまたお会いしましょう。バイバイ。